After 2.5 long weeks, welcome back to the Below Average Joe's MMA show. We do apologize for the delay in episodes. There's just been a lot going on. There, of course, has been an off week this past week in mixed martial arts. So there are obviously going to be some big changes made. Maybe I shouldn't say obviously because we haven't talked to you guys in the past 2 weeks. But we're just going to get right into that first and foremost to kick off the episode today. And I'll just rip the band aid right off. This is obviously Dominic that you are hearing. There will be no Noah on the show today. He actually came to me a couple weeks ago and said that due to some life changes coming up and just some things going on in his life, he doesn't feel he would have been able to continue to give 100% of his efforts to the show, to the community that we've built, and therefore he did decide to kind of step away from the show, at least now for the time being, for the foreseeable future. I just want everybody to know first and foremost again that this was no, ill will. There was no hatred or heat. We're still best friends. We lived together for years, went to high school together, went to college together. None of that. It was just kind of a life thing. Life comes up as we get older. Things come up, and you got to just sort through everything, your priorities, get everything in line. And I know Noah will do just that. So I wish him nothing but the absolute best. Again, one of my absolute best friends, someone that's going to be in my wedding party, all of that jazz. So I love the guy. 3 years we did this thing together, and it was just absolutely incredible. We started really in the height of the pandemic in August of 2020, and we went strong, man. He went from August 2020 to September 2023. We went through so many things together through this show, changes, and well, we were trying to sort out our very first episode with a microphone bought from Walmart and a vlogging kit, recording with the AC on in the background. Then we transitioned to moving apart from one another, and we start video, podcasting, and all that stuff. So we just went through a lot, so many changes, so many improvements that we made. The evolution of the show was great, and none of that would have been done without Noah. So again, if you're listening, Noah, I love you. You know I love you. Everybody listening loves you as well. We wish you nothing but the best. And I will just say that going forward, it is just a solo effort right now for me. I cannot guarantee how good, or hopefully not, but maybe how bad this will be. It's definitely going to be a learning curve. It's going to take some getting used to from myself and obviously for you listeners. So I'm definitely going to give this a try for a little bit. We've got a lot of cards coming up, big cards, big fights. So that's fun. Hopefully there'll be some more news coming, and I'm going to give it my best. We're going to see how it goes for a little while. If it goes well, if you guys enjoy it, we're going to keep this thing going. But I'm going to give it my all. Hope you guys do know that. The UFC is back after a week off. UFC Vegas 80 at the Apex in Las Vegas, Nevada. We got the number 10 ranked lightweight in the world, Grant Dawson, getting his first main event slot against the OG Bobby King Green, and what will be only his second UFC main event slot, but his 23rd overall fight. So we've got the young guy, the young gun, up and comer against the seasoned veteran that's been there, done that, seen it all, been there, done it all, knocked them all out, been knocked out. He's done everything. Bobby Green, one of the most crazy, if you will, but in a nice way, characters of the lightweight division against a guy that's really been under the radar his entire UFC career in Grant Dawson. It's an interesting main event here. Let's get into some of the X's and O's and some of the storylines surrounding this main event. So Grant Dawson been in the UFC since 2019. He got a Contender Series victory back in 2017. Went almost a year and a half before making his UFC debut in March of 2019. He's 8-0 with one draw. That draw coming to Ricky Glenn in the UFC. So the guy's been nearly flawless. Looked very, very good thus far through those first 9 fights. As I said at the top, this is his first main event slot. He has made his way to number 10 in the lightweight division, arguably the best, most stacked division in the UFC. Some would say, including myself, that bantamweight's the best, but I make no anger for anyone that believes lightweight is the best in the world, especially if you want to look across the board of all mixed martial arts. Grant's been fighting consistently twice a year ever since coming into the UFC. This will be his second fight of 2023, going to be the last fight of 2023, I'd have to imagine. And like I said, it's his first main event opportunity. It's by far the biggest name value opponent that he's getting and the most experienced opponent that he's getting. Bobby Green had 40 plus fights. It's kind of crazy. He's doubling up Grant Dawson here. You'd think it would be more. Grant's still, a relatively young guy. I believe he's 29 years old. Let me confirm that. Yeah, Grant Dawson, 29 years old. So really, that's a lot of fights for a guy that's still relatively young into the game. But Bobby Green, man, just an absolute dog, dude. 30 wins, 14 losses, draws, no contest. Been there, seen it all, done it all, as I've said. And this is an interesting one because you look at it, Grant Dawson, a guy that is known for his grappling. Just look at his last fight against Damir Ismagulov. That was an eye-opening performance, I think, to really show how good Grant Dawson is to do that against a guy that is very high level. And it was definitely another guy that was underrated. Demir had been talking about retirement and whatnot going into that fight, so maybe he wasn't at his 100%, but it didn't matter. He could have been at 150%. I don't think it would have been enough. Grant Dawson, from pillar to post, bell to bell, dominated that fight. Didn't get the finish, but my goodness, such a one-sided, lopsided decision victory here. He mixes in a lot of submission wins throughout his UFC career as well. He knows how to get it done both ways. And, this probably isn't fair for Bobby Green, but if Grant gets him down, like Islam Makhachev was able to do, it could be a pretty short night here, especially if we're talking a 5-round main event. And I know that's easier said than done. Bobby Green historically does have a pretty good takedown defense. I believe it's around 74%, which is very impressive. But Grant is just going to be, I think, the bigger guy, the stronger guy, the younger guy, the quicker guy. Everything kind of works in his favor. And maybe it's one of those fights where Bobby can kind of halt that momentum. He's coming off of a huge win in July against Tony Ferguson, but that's a Tony Ferguson that's now on a 6-fight losing streak. Just maybe not the same weight is carried by that victory as it once would have been. But he just turned 37 last month. Bobby Green did in September. He's 8 years older than Grant Dawson. Those fight years are going to catch up to him as well. It's an interesting one, man. I mean, for storylines here too, like this is Grant's big chance to really break out in a sense and continue climbing the ranks when he hasn't even gotten a win over a top 15 guy yet. He's found himself, ranked number 10. Damir Ismagulov, Mark Madsen, Jared Gordon, a draw to Ricky Glenn, as I already mentioned. Julian Erosa was his UFC debut. I mean, that's probably, besides Ismagulov, that's his second most impressive win. And that was, 4 years ago, over 4 years ago now. So he's really gotten to this point much differently than a lot of other people could do here. And if he beats Bobby Green, yes, it's a huge win. As I said, the name value, the seasoned veteran, and the expertise, and all the people that Bobby Green has fought is great. But you'd have to imagine that come Tuesday, if Grant gets a win here, he's gonna move up into the number 9 or number 8 or number 7 slot in the lightweight division, all by never having to fight a ranked opponent. That's pretty crazy. Not a lot of people get a chance to do that. The only other one that's coming off the top of my head is Umar Nurmagomedov in the bantamweight division. He was going to fight, I believe at the time Corey was ranked number 4 at bantamweight, and Umar had gotten to, I think, number, I don't know, 11 to 13, one of those 3 spots without fighting anyone ranked. That's the only other thing I can think of off the top of my head here. Jumping the gun on camera, on live on recording. So you don't see this very often, but I'm happy for Grant. This is a big opportunity. And, for all we know, Bobby can come in here, play the spoiler, get the win over the young up and coming guy. And then Bobby puts himself into the top 15. He's been there before, never really near the top 10, but this is a chance for him to do that. You never know, man. Some of these guys just hit those prime points in their career, later. I think Bobby, truthfully, has already hit that. I believe that kind of Apex King Bobby Green, aura was his prime when he had those 3 straight wins in the Apex, Clay Guida, Venata, and Alan Patrick. that's when I felt like something could have really went great for Bobby Green. He had a very close fight with Thiago Moises, had a very close fight with Rafael Fiziev. Like, you look at the guys he's fighting, man, Grant Dawson can't say he's done the same. And I know I made that comparison to the Islam fight, but that was short notice. Bobby Green just kind of went in there to save the card, get a bag, paycheck. He got subbed, or I guess he got TKO'd actually, but got taken down and finished 3 minutes into that fight. And I'm not saying Grant Dawson is Islam Makhachev, but he's the closest thing we got to it in this lightweight division right now. You may think that's a crazy take, but you go up and down the top 15. I don't think anyone has the strength in the grappling department outside of Islam that Grant Dawson does, man. And so he does have, for that reason alone, the ability to climb these ranks. I'll just say this could be a Monday conversation, but if he beats Bobby Green, and as I said, climbs to number 8, number 9, he could be in a world where he gets one huge win over like a top 5 opponent and he's in there for a title. And that would mean getting a title opportunity after having only fought one ranked fighter in the most stacked division in the UFC. So that's pretty crazy. That's definitely something to watch out for. If I had to give a prediction here, I do lean Dawson. I could see Bobby stretching this 5 rounds. He's so tough, man. But if it's on the ground for 5 rounds, which I feel like that's what we're en route to seeing, I think Grant gets him out of there. I think he does get a finish. I can't necessarily say KO or submission, but I do think he gets a finish prior to round 4, maybe in round 4 if he drags it deep enough. We don't usually give predictions. Obviously, this is something new that I'm trying out. So let us know what your predictions are for this fight. Grant Dawson's first main event, Bobby Green's second, but been there and done that. It should be fun. It's a pretty decent card as well. No necessarily like in-depth breakdown, just because, again, as you guys have heard at the beginning, kind of just going through and working out some kinks right now on this new layout of the show, being that it's just a solo effort right now. But Joe Pyfer, Abdul Razak Al Hassan is the co-main event. That's an absolute banger of a fight. Be Joe Pyfer, as Dana White once illustriously said. Alex Morano and Joaquin Buckley is a great fight. Drew Dober, Ricky Glenn's a banger between two OGs. Alexander Hernandez, Bill Algeo, hello. That is such an interesting fight that could also be very closely contested and very fan friendly. All of those are just really, really great matchups here. So give me your predictions for the UFC Vegas 80 main event. It should be a good one. Grant Dawson really getting a chance to prove he is that guy. Bobby Green gets the opportunity to play spoiler, continue this aura that really no one else in lightweight division has other than Bobby King Green. So let me know what you think. Sorry if this layout is still a little clunky. I'm going to work out these kinks, get a little bit more comfortable doing this in a solo effort. So bear with me for the time being as we continue going through these changes. The layout and everything's going to get better, more appealing to the eyes. But hopefully you guys enjoyed it. If you did, drop a like on this video. Again, comment down below your predictions for this weekend's fights. We'll be happy to start a conversation in the comments. And yeah, don't forget to subscribe to the channel, ring the bell so you never miss an episode. We've always got fight news, fight breakdowns, fight recaps, and everything in between. If you like getting everything all at once, a long form podcast, be sure to follow us on Spotify, on Apple, on whatever your podcast listening platform of choice is. Give us a follow there. Give us a 5-star rating if you enjoy it as we continue to grow this community. We'll see you next time.